Secretary prevents entry of black man, but panics upon discovering he is the CEO of the company. In a high-end corporate office in New York, Maya Carter, a young receptionist, faces a dilemma that will challenge her to confront her own prejudices. Working at a renowned technology company, she finds herself caught between her ambitions and the values she brought from her conservative small town in Indiana. When a black man enters the office, and she assumes he does not belong in that space, the situation quickly spirals out of her control. What Maya does not know is that the man is actually the company's CEO, David Thompson, and her reaction will trigger a series of events that will force her to rethink her beliefs and her place in the world. Maya has always dreamed of building a solid career in New York. Since moving there 2 years ago, the big city seemed promising, full of opportunities and challenges. However, the pressure to stand out in such a prestigious company made her nervous. She struggled to fit into the modern and dynamic environment, but behind her confident facade were deep insecurities. Growing up in a small town, Maya absorbed traditional values that often prevented her from seeing beyond her own bubble. That morning, while organizing the reception area, Maya spotted a casually dressed man. Not knowing who he was, her prejudiced mind kicked in instantly. Without hesitation, she asked him to wait outside, hoping someone from HR could attend to him. The confidence she thought she had crumbled in an instant when the operations director arrived and corrected her, revealing that the man was the head of the company. The shock paralyzed her, and the tension in the air was palpable. David, with his calm and distant expression, did not confront her, but the silence between them screamed louder than any word. Maya was engulfed in a wave of regret and shame, questioning her own worldview. In the days that followed, David observed Maya from a distance, choosing not to react immediately. He knew he needed to give her the opportunity to reflect on her actions. Meanwhile, he discreetly included her in training sessions on diversity and inclusion, hoping she could learn from her mistakes. For David, this was not just about correcting a misunderstanding, it was an opportunity to shape the company culture and create a more welcoming environment. Maya's journey would become a path of self-discovery and transformation. As she confronted her own prejudices and insecurities, the pressure she felt became a catalyst for her personal growth. David, in turn, reaffirmed his mission to promote a corporate environment where mistakes like Maya's would no longer be an implicit norm. What began as a misunderstanding turned into a valuable lesson about diversity, inclusion, and the complexity of human relationships in a constantly evolving world. Maya felt as if she were navigating a tumultuous sea, struggling to stay afloat in an environment that seemed increasingly inhospitable. After the incident with David, her confidence was shaken. At work, she avoided eye contact and tried to hide behind stacks of papers, fearing that any interaction would expose her to yet another embarrassing situation. The reception area, once a space that made her feel part of something greater, now felt like a place of constant judgment, where every move she made was scrutinized and criticized. However, the truth was that Maya was not alone in this struggle. Around her were other employees facing challenges, each with their own aspirations and insecurities. Among them was Clara, a fellow receptionist who always seemed radiant and confident. Clara was from Brazil and had an inspiring story of overcoming adversity. She had left her family and culture behind in search of a better future. Conversations between the two began to reveal more about Clara's life, which carried not only joy, but also the challenges of integrating into a new country. Maya admired Clara, but at the same time she felt intimidated by her ease of connecting with others. One morning, while Clara talked about a project she was developing, Maya felt a tightening in her chest. The desire to be as fearless as her colleague consumed her. She wanted to feel free to dream and explore, but the shadow of her mistake loomed over her. Each passing day reminded her of David's disappointed gaze. It was as if he were watching her, not to punish her, but to guide her. This idea left her confused. How could someone considered her superior be so understanding after being treated with such disdain? Maya's internal dilemma intensified when she learned that David was promoting a series of workshops on diversity and inclusion at the company. She hesitated to participate, fearing that her presence would be seen as an attempt to redeem herself. But at the same time, she felt she needed to get involved. It was an opportunity to learn and grow. The conflict between the desire to hide and the need to confront herself brought her to a crucial point. She decided that if she wanted to succeed, she needed to face her fears. At the first workshop, as David spoke about his experiences and the importance of an inclusive environment, Maya felt a wave of emotions. The stories he shared deeply touched her. She realized that throughout her life, she had surrounded herself with a limited view of people, reducing them to stereotypes that did not reflect the complexity of reality. The weight of guilt enveloped her, and she let the tears flow. It was a moment of vulnerability that made her question her own values and beliefs. After the workshop, David approached Maya. He saw the pain in her eyes and invited her for a coffee. Maya hesitated, but her curiosity about his perspective led her to accept. During the conversation, he encouraged her to share her feelings. She talked about her internal struggle and the pressure she felt to fit in. David, with empathy, reminded her that we all have a past and that true strength comes from learning from our mistakes. However, not everything was easy. Clara, who had previously become a close friend, began to distance herself. The young Brazilian was frustrated with how Maya was handling the situation. She believed Maya was allowing herself to be consumed by guilt, instead of using it as fuel for change. The conversations between them became tense, and Maya felt alone again, as if she were on a path that few could understand. Days turned into weeks, and Maya began to feel pressured. Expectations were high, and the need to prove her worth at every moment left her exhausted. The search for acceptance was becoming a burden, and her friendship with Clara seemed more and more distant. Insecurity consumed her, making her question whether she truly belonged in that environment. What Maya didn't realize was that true transformation didn't come solely from external change, but from accepting her own flaws. She needed to learn that vulnerability was a strength, not a weakness. The road ahead was filled with challenges, but also with opportunities for a fresh start that could redefine not only her career, but also who she was as a person. Maya's internal conflict would become the driving force for her journey of self-discovery, where each step toward inclusion and understanding would bring her closer to a more promising future. Despite the difficulties that still lay ahead, Maya continued to fight against her own demons. Each passing day, the pressure to conform and stand out at the company seemed to grow. The workshops led by David became a refuge for her, but also a constant reminder of her insecurities. Participating in them was a positive step, but every interaction with colleagues felt like a new test. She noticed how Clara connected with other employees, laughing and sharing stories, while she felt like a distant spectator. The atmosphere at work began to change. The environment that once felt welcoming now seemed heavy. Conversations among colleagues became livelier, but Maya felt increasingly isolated. Clara, who had been her friend and source of inspiration, now seemed distant and frustrated with how Maya was dealing with her fears. The young Brazilian often encouraged her to open up more, to seek new opportunities, but Maya hesitated, feeling that any misstep could lead to another fall. One morning, after a long day at work, Maya decided she needed some time alone. She went to a cafe near the office, a place she used to go to relax. Sitting at a table, she watched the people around her. Amid laughter and lively conversations, she wondered if she would ever feel as free as those people. Insecurity consumed her, and she realized that the pressure for acceptance was affecting not only her mind, but also her body. Sleepless nights and constant anxiety had left her exhausted. Before we continue with this emotional story, take a moment to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any stories. And let us know which city you're watching this video from in the comments. It was in this moment of reflection that Maya decided she needed to change, not just to strive to fit in, but to rediscover herself. Upon returning to work, she decided she would participate in an informal brainstorming meeting that David had organized to discuss new ideas and projects. It was an opportunity to showcase her creativity and her desire to contribute, but also a challenge that made her nervous. In the meeting, as others spoke enthusiastically about their ideas, Maya felt her insecurity grow. She wanted to participate, but the internal voice that criticized her held her back from expressing herself. When she finally found the courage to share a suggestion, the response was mixed. Some colleagues supported her, but others laughed at her proposal. The laughter echoed in her mind like an echo of her past failures, and the weight of disappointment hit her like a blow. After the meeting, she rushed out, feeling vulnerable and disheartened. That night, Clara tried to reach out to Maya, but the receptionist avoided her messages. The distance between them grew, and Clara, frustrated, decided it was time to confront Maya. The next day, when they met at work, Clara approached with a serious expression. "Maya, we need to talk," she said. The tension was palpable, and Maya felt her heart race. Clara expressed her concern. "I see you getting lost in all of this. You are stronger than you think. You can't let other people's opinions bring you down." Clara's words hit Maya like an arrow. She felt weak, and the truth was that the criticisms hurt her more than she wanted to admit. The conversation turned into an emotional clash, where Clara urged Maya to face her insecurities head-on. Maya stayed silent, absorbing every word. She knew Clara was right, but the idea of exposing her vulnerability was terrifying. The pressure mounted, and the friendship that had once been a support now felt like a source of conflict. The feeling of loneliness intensified, and the receptionist found herself in a cycle of despair. The need for acceptance was weighing heavily on her shoulders. Meanwhile, David, observing the situation from a distance, decided to intervene. He called Maya for a conversation and encouraged her to express what she was feeling. Hesitantly, Maya shared her internal struggles and the pressure she felt to fit in. David, with his understanding, reminded her that everyone faces challenges and that true strength lies in learning from failures. He encouraged her to embrace her authenticity instead of hiding it. These conversations left Maya confused, but also sparked a glimmer of hope. The idea that she could grow from her mistakes was new and frightening. That night, as she reflected on what she had learned, she decided that she needed to confront her limitations once and for all. The desire to prove her worth and be accepted had become a drive, but now it was time to accept who she really was. However, as Maya tried to pick herself up, the distance between her and Clara seemed to deepen. The emotional conflict was manifesting physically, and the receptionist didn't know how to repair the deteriorating friendship. A difficult choice loomed: to continue fighting alone or to seek reconciliation and strength in vulnerability. The path ahead was filled with challenges, but also opportunities to rediscover her true essence and rebuild bonds that seemed lost. Maya was at a crucial moment in her life. Conversations with Clara and David had planted a seed of hope, but doubt still consumed her. The distance between her and Clara left her distressed, and the feeling of failure persisted. It was as if every step she tried to take toward overcoming was crushed by the weight of expectations and the fear of judgment from others. On a particularly difficult day, as the sun set on the horizon, Maya decided to take a walk in the park near the office. The fresh air and the sound of the leaves swaying in the wind brought temporary relief. However, the peace she felt was interrupted by memories of her internal struggle. The laughter of her co-workers, the looks of disapproval, and most importantly, the pressure to fit in. It was a vicious cycle that left her exhausted. As she walked, she spotted a group of people gathered around a street artist. He was painting a vibrant and colorful mural, and the energy around him was contagious. Maya approached, intrigued. The artist, with his unique skill, was transforming a gray wall into an explosion of colors and shapes. The people around him laughed, commented, and had fun, completely absorbed in the creation. It was then that a revelation struck her like lightning. The artist was not concerned about what others thought. He was there simply creating, expressing his vision without fear of criticism. The mural began to come to life, and Maya realized that he was not seeking approval, but rather the freedom to be who he truly was. That scene made her reflect on her own struggle. Why had she allowed herself to be consumed by the need for acceptance? Why couldn't she be authentic just like that artist? Emotion took over her. Maya felt a wave of courage growing inside her. The idea that she could embrace her flaws and use them as fuel for her creativity began to make sense. She didn't need to be perfect. She needed to be true. What really mattered was her journey, not others' perceptions. Feeling inspired, Maya decided it was time for a change. When she got home that night, she sat down at her desk and began to write. She wrote about her insecurities, her fears, but also about her hopes and dreams. She realized that each failure was a learning opportunity and that true strength came from accepting her own vulnerability. The next day, during a break at work, Maya found Clara in the cafeteria. Her heart raced as she realized it was the right moment to reconnect the friendship. With a lump in her throat, she approached and, with sincerity, began to speak. "Clara, I'm so sorry. I have been struggling with my own demons, and because of that, I ended up distancing myself from you. I truly appreciate your concern, but I was so lost that I didn't know how to deal with it." Clara looked at Maya, surprised, but soon a smile formed on her face. "I just want you to know that I'm here for you. I understand that we all have our battles. Can we face this together?" Clara's words were like balm to Maya's soul. The reconciliation brought profound relief, and feeling her friends' support, she realized she didn't have to face her struggles alone. Over time, Maya began to open up more to her co-workers. She shared her ideas and also her difficulties. To her surprise, many identified with her struggles and began to share their own stories. The atmosphere in the office gradually changed. Instead of a competitive environment, it began to transform into a space of mutual support. Maya's new perspective on what success meant also began to crystallize. She realized that true success wasn't about being perfect or being everyone's favorite, but rather about being authentic and true to herself. By embracing her flaws and vulnerabilities, she found a new purpose. Maya not only began to stand out in her work, but also became a source of inspiration for others. Maya's journey was just beginning, but the change she had experienced was profound. Her friendship with Clara had become a pillar in her life, and the connection with her colleagues helped her feel stronger. With each step forward, she remembered the street artist, whose courage inspired her to live a life full of color and authenticity. The transformation was underway, and Maya was finally ready to embrace who she truly was. Maya felt different after the encounter in the park. The reconciliation with Clara brought immediate relief and a new energy. In the days that followed, she dedicated herself to nurturing this new phase of her life. Every morning upon waking up, Maya remembered the lesson she learned from the street artist. Being authentic meant embracing her imperfections and living by her own rules. At work, conversations with colleagues became more open and sincere. Maya began to share her ideas and projects with renewed enthusiasm. She noticed that by showing her vulnerability, others also felt encouraged to open up. The environment was changing, and meetings that had once been tense were now becoming moments of collaboration and support. However, this transformation was not without challenges. While Maya felt more confident, the pressure to meet expectations still existed. She faced days when anxiety crept back in, especially when it came to presenting her ideas to the team. There were moments when her inner voice whispered doubts. What if no one likes it? What if you fail again? On those days, Maya remembered the vibrant mural she had seen. The color and freedom of the art served as a reminder not to let fear take over. In one of those meetings, when her presentation arrived, Maya felt her heart race. The palms of her hands were sweaty, and her voice seemed to falter. But taking a deep breath, she remembered the support she had from Clara and her colleagues. With a nervous smile, she began to speak. Today I want to share some ideas that have been inspiring me. I hope we can explore them together. What could have been a moment of total pressure transformed into a collaborative conversation. The team asked questions, offered suggestions, and more importantly, valued Maya's contribution. However, the feeling of doubt did not completely disappear. Interactions with colleagues became more frequent, but there were days when Maya felt isolated amid so many voices. Despite the support, self-criticism still accompanied her. She found herself thinking about how she could please everyone, and this need for acceptance made her feel exhausted. She knew she needed to continue working on her self-esteem, but the path was not easy. In a moment of introspection, Maya decided to go for another walk in the park. While walking, she reflected on her progress, but also on how some insecurities still haunted her. The sun was shining, and the leaves danced in the wind, but inside her, a storm of emotions made her feel restless. It was then that she sat on a bench and closed her eyes, allowing the sounds of the park to envelop her. Why is it so hard to just be myself, she thought. That was when Clara found her. The friend sat down beside her, and noticing Maya's worried expression, asked, "What's going on? You seem distant." Maya hesitated, but the confidence she had cultivated encouraged her to open up. "I'm trying, Clara, but sometimes I feel like I'm not good enough. The pressure seems to come back and I don't know how to deal with it." Clara looked at her with understanding. "You don't have to be perfect, Maya. No one is. The important thing is that you're making an effort to be yourself, and that is already a great achievement." Her friend's words were a balm. Maya realized that even amidst difficulties, she had people around her who supported her. In the following days, Maya decided to express her feelings more consciously. She started keeping a journal where she recorded her victories and defeats. By doing this, she noticed that it became easier to deal with her emotions. Each filled page was a form of release. She wrote about moments of doubt, but also about the small achievements that often went unnoticed. The new path was not linear. There were days when Maya felt she was regressing in her journey. However, she always found a way to pick herself up. Looking at the mural she had seen, she remembered that beauty lay in imperfections, And so, with each new experience, Maya began to understand that life was not just about reaching goals, but about enjoying the journey and learning from each step taken. Over time, the friendship between Maya and Clara grew even stronger. They began to meet more frequently, not just to discuss work, but also to share moments of relaxation. These interactions became an antidote for difficult days, and gradually, Maya realized that even when facing new obstacles, she had a solid support network by her side that encouraged her to move forward. Maya was learning to live her truth, and although the path still presented challenges, she felt more prepared to face them. The journey of self-discovery was just beginning, but each new step brought her closer to who she really was, and that was what mattered most. Maya was at a turning point in her life. After reconciling with Clara, she felt a lightness she hadn't experienced in a long time. Their friendship had become a safe harbor where vulnerability was welcomed and insecurities shared. However, while Maya strove to be authentic, internal and external pressure still haunted her. Doubts about her ability and worth often arose, especially when she faced professional challenges. On a sunny morning during an important meeting, Maya sat at the table with her colleagues, her heart pounding in her chest. She had prepared a project that she believed had potential, but anxiety consumed her. When it was her turn to present, the words felt stuck in her throat. With visible effort, she began. Throughout the presentation, she noticed curious looks and encouraging smiles. When she finished, instead of the dreaded silence, she received questions and ideas. The feedback was constructive and welcoming, and for the first time, Maya felt that her voice was valued. This experience became a milestone in her journey of self-confidence. Despite her momentary success, the shadow of self-criticism still followed her. There were days when Maya felt isolated, as if she were fighting a battle alone. Amid the support of her colleagues and Clara's friendship, she still questioned whether she truly belonged to that group. It was difficult, but she knew she needed to face those feelings. She decided that every time doubt arose, she would allow herself to feel and reflect on it. Instead of fighting against her emotions, she began to write them down in her journal. The pages of the journal became a sacred space for Maya. In those notes, she not only recorded her fears, but also her victories. One day, while writing about a presentation that had gone well, she realized she was focusing on her strengths rather than fixating on her flaws. This shift in perspective was a crucial step. By acknowledging her achievements, no matter how small, Maya began to see herself differently. Self-criticism started to give way to gratitude for every step she was taking. Her friendship with Clara also proved fundamental in this process. They frequently met, not only to talk about work, but to share their lives. Clara encouraged her to go further, to explore new horizons. In one of those conversations, Maya expressed her concern about the pressure she felt to please everyone. Clara, with her wisdom, replied that true happiness comes from within. You cannot control others' opinions, but you can choose how you see yourself. Those words resonated deeply with Maya. She began to understand that success was not just about professional recognition or others' approval, but about being at peace with herself. This new perspective led her to seek activities that truly made her happy. She started taking painting classes, something she had always wanted to do but had never had the courage to try. Art became a form of expression, where she could be free and creative, away from the expectations of the corporate world. Over time, Maya's transformation became visible. Her self-confidence grew, and she began to present in meetings with more assurance, without the constant weight of expectations. Every new idea she shared was met with enthusiasm, and as she opened up more, her colleagues also began to feel comfortable expressing themselves. This exchange created a lighter and more collaborative work environment where everyone felt valued. In moments of reflection, Maya realized that the adversities she faced shaped her in ways she never imagined. She learned that true wealth was not just in material possessions, but in the experiences and relationships built along the way. Every shared laugh, every tear shed, and every victory celebrated became the true jewels of her life. Maya's journey was far from perfect, but each step brought her closer to her essence. She had learned to embrace her imperfections and value her uniqueness. By doing so, she not only became a more authentic version of herself, but also inspired those around her to do the same. Her friendship with Clara, which began with misunderstandings, blossomed into a partnership that helped her grow and strengthen. Looking to the future, Maya smiled, knowing that regardless of the challenges ahead, she would be ready to face them with courage and authenticity. Maya was about to face the biggest challenge of her career. After months of hard work, a decisive presentation was approaching. It would be an opportunity to showcase all the progress she had made and how much she had transformed. But as the day drew near, anxiety set in again. The doubts she had worked so hard to overcome began to resonate in her mind. She questioned whether she was truly ready, whether her voice was strong enough to be heard in a space where she had always felt small. On the morning of the presentation, Maya looked at her reflection in the mirror and saw herself again as the insecure girl who hesitated to express herself. Nervousness consumed her, and the feeling that she might fail was overwhelming. But as she remembered Clara's words that true happiness comes from within, she took a deep breath. She decided not to let fear control her. She grabbed her journal and quickly wrote down a few phrases about her achievements, about how she had learned to value her own voice. This small ritual helped her center herself. As she entered the meeting room, the atmosphere felt heavy. Colleagues were seated with serious expressions, ready to listen. Maya sat down and looked at the folders in front of her. The pages were filled with data, graphs, and ideas she believed were innovative, but the pressure was palpable. In a moment of silence, she stood up, and the world around her seemed to slow down. As she began her presentation, Maya's voice came out hesitantly, but as she progressed, something changed. The words began to flow, and the images she had chosen to illustrate her project seemed to come to life. She remembered all the times she had challenged herself, how she had learned to value herself. The looks that once seemed intimidating now conveyed genuine interest. Maya began to see her project not just as an opportunity for success, but as a way to share her passion. However, in the middle of the presentation, one of the directors raised a critical question that made her tremble. He questioned the feasibility of one of the proposals she had made. Maya's heart raced. She was about to let fear take over again, but instead, she took a deep breath. She remembered Clara's support and how she had faced her insecurities. In a moment of clarity, she decided not to hide behind evasive answers, but to be honest. "I understand your concern," said Maya, looking into the director's eyes. "This point is indeed challenging, and I recognize that we still have a lot to consider, but I believe we can work together to find a viable solution. I am willing to listen to your suggestions and adjust the project as necessary." The room fell silent for a moment, and then the tension began to dissipate. The director, surprised by Maya's honesty and willingness to collaborate, started to weave a constructive conversation. Other colleagues also got involved, and the room that had once felt like a courtroom transformed into a space for debate and idea exchange. Maya realized that she was not alone. Her colleagues were there to support her, just as Clara always had. When the meeting ended, a feeling of relief and accomplishment enveloped her. The feedback was positive, and more importantly, she had managed to put herself to the test without being overwhelmed by fear. Looking at her colleagues smiling and commenting on the presentation, Maya realized that true success was not just in the project's approval, but in the connection she had created with those around her. That night, while writing in her journal, Maya reflected on what she had learned. Every doubt and insecurity she faced throughout her journey had brought her to that moment. She understood that failures were not the end, but rather opportunities for a fresh start. Success was not just about external recognition, but about the inner strength she had discovered. The bond with Clara grew even stronger after the presentation. They met to celebrate, laughing and sharing stories of their respective journeys. Maya realized that their friendship was not just a refuge, but a source of strength. Together they became an example of resilience, showing that true wealth lay in the connections they built and the lessons they learned along the way. With a smile on her face, Maya looked to the future, ready to face any challenge that came her way. She knew that regardless of the obstacles, she could always count on her voice and the people she loved, and that, for her, was true success. After the presentation, Maya felt a mix of relief and euphoria. As she walked out of the meeting room, her heart was still racing, but now for a different reason. She had overcome one of the most challenging moments of her career, and that filled her with newfound confidence. Passing by her colleagues, she heard murmurs of appreciation. Each smile and each word of encouragement made her feel that it had not just been a presentation, but a true milestone in her journey. In the following days, the impact of Maya's presentation continued to resonate in the office. Conversations about the project intensified, and she realized that her proposal, once met with skepticism, was beginning to gain support. In subsequent meetings, She was invited to lead discussions, something that had previously felt like a distant dream. This new responsibility challenged her, but it also excited her. Maya began to feel more comfortable sharing her ideas, and her voice, which had once hesitated, now sounded firmer and clearer. However, the changes did not just affect Maya. Her colleagues began to notice the difference in her attitude. That woman, who had once appeared insecure and hesitant, now radiated a confidence that inspired everyone around her. Clara, who had always been her unwavering support, noticed this transformation. They met at a cafe to celebrate the success, and the conversation flowed naturally. "I always knew you had this in you, Maya," Clara said with a smile. "It was just a matter of you allowing yourself to shine." Maya smiled back, warmth spreading in her chest. "I couldn't have done it without your support. You always believed in me even when I doubted myself." Clara's words made Maya reflect on the impact a true friendship can have. She realized that her journey was not just about professional achievements, but also about the connections she had cultivated. She remembered the times they had talked about their fears and insecurities, and how that openness had been essential for her growth. While they talked, Maya decided she wanted to share her experience with others. She began organizing a small support group at work, where colleagues could gather to discuss their own insecurities and challenges. The goal was to help one another become more confident and find their voices. The idea was well received, and soon the meeting room was filled with laughter and stories of overcoming obstacles. The group became a safe space, where everyone felt comfortable sharing their struggles and victories. Maya found herself in a new role, not just as a participant, but as a leader. She listened attentively, offered advice, and shared her own experiences. Through this process, she realized how much she had grown. Her journey of self-discovery was now transforming into an opportunity to help others find their paths. As time went on, Maya became a reference in the office. Her colleagues sought her out for guidance, and she felt grateful to be able to contribute to their growth. The sense of belonging that had once seemed distant was now part of her reality. She learned to value not only her achievements, but also the importance of being present in the lives of those around her. Looking to the future, Maya knew that challenges would still come, but instead of fearing them, she felt ready to face them head-on. With Clara's support and the new network of friends she had built, she was determined to continue her path of growth. The lessons she had learned would carry her forward, and the confidence she had cultivated had become part of her essence. Maya knew that true happiness was a journey, not a destination, and with a smile on her face, she was more than willing to embrace every step of that journey, always remembering that each challenge was an opportunity to shine even brighter. Maya had transformed. What had started as a distressing challenge had now become a journey of self-discovery and growth. With the support of Clara and the new network of colleagues who had come together around the support group she organized, Maya not only overcame her insecurities, but also became an inspiring leader. Her voice, once hesitant, now resonated with strength and confidence, and every word she shared not only empowered her, but also uplifted those around her. She reflected on how important professional achievements were, but she realized that true wealth lay in the relationships she had cultivated. The support group became a true sanctuary, where everyone could open up and share their experiences. Each person's stories were like pieces of a puzzle, forming a larger picture of overcoming and resilience. Every collective victory was celebrated with enthusiasm, and every setback was seen as an opportunity to start anew. Over time, Maya noticed that her journey was not just about overcoming personal challenges, but also about helping others find their voices. This realization brought a new dimension to her life. She began to understand that success would not be measured solely by her professional ascent, but by her ability to inspire and transform lives. This new perspective made her feel more connected and fulfilled. However, as every journey has its challenges, Maya had to face an unexpected obstacle. An important project she was working on was suddenly scrapped, and the decision was not well received by her. She felt frustration rising, and for a moment the old Maya, insecure and demotivated, made a brief appearance. But instead of letting herself be defeated, she decided it was time to take action. Instead of seeking revenge on those who made the decision, Maya chose to transform her frustration into motivation. She gathered the support group and, instead of lamenting the loss of the project, proposed that they create a new one, a bold and innovative idea that could truly impact the company. The energy in the air was palpable. Together they worked tirelessly, sharing ideas and inspiring one another. The group not only rose again, but also began to generate something even more powerful, a sense of community and belonging that spread throughout the office. With the support of her colleagues, Maya presented the new proposal in a meeting. The idea was met with enthusiasm and ultimately gained the support of the leadership. The satisfaction of seeing her effort and teamwork recognized was indescribable. Maya realized that true revenge was not about retaliating but about creating something even better from pain and frustration. Maya's journey had taught her many valuable lessons about confidence, friendship, and resilience. She understood that life is made up of ups and downs, but that each challenge brings an opportunity to grow and shine. Looking to the future, she knew she was ready to face any obstacle that arose, and more importantly, Maya felt grateful for every step of this journey, as each one had shaped her into the strong and inspiring person she had become. Now, we invite you to reflect on your own journeys. What challenges have you faced, and how have they transformed you? Share your experiences in the comments and inspire others to also find strength in their stories. If you enjoyed this narrative, like and subscribe to the channel so we can continue to explore these life lessons together. Your interaction is essential for us to bring more content that touches hearts and inspires everyone. Let's make a difference together.